Everyone, I started by looking at Ontario politics, and today we'll revisit Ontario politics, but only to compare how the press treats Doug Ford with how they treat Justin Trudeau. And not to say necessarily the press treats them all that differently, although, yeah, kind of. But what I'm saying is, it's interesting that, well, you'll see. You come to your own conclusions. City TV News is reporting, and this is July 4th. Top Ford bureaucrat with reported ties to Dean French dismissed. Department dissolved. This is a patronage scandal. Oh no. Deputy Minister Peter Fenwick, who reportedly has ties to Premier Ford's former Chief of Staff Dean French, is leaving the office effective immediately. The news comes in a memo to deputy ministers obtained by City News, and signed by Chief of Staff Jamie Wallace and Diane MacArthur, Chief Talent Officer, Treasury Board Secretariat. The memo also states that the Transformation Office is being dissolved after an evaluation of the structure of the Cabinet Office. Fenwick had been serving in the department as a strategic transformation advisor. He is now the fourth member of Doug Ford's government to get mixed up in the appointment scandal at Queen's Park due to his reported connections to Dean French. A government source tells City News all cabinet appointments will be looked into, but would not speculate on whether the government is looking at past connections with French. The Cabinet Office made the decision that they could better reach the goals of the Transformation Office internally, the source told City News. And here's another article from the Globe and Mail talking about the same thing, and it's a little bit more in depth, so we're going to look at it as well. This is Premier Ford facing calls for outside review of appointments in wake of patronage scandal. Ontario Premier Doug Ford is facing calls for the province's opposition parties for an outside review of an appointment, as his government vowed to comb through all past postings in the wake of outcry over patronage involving his former chief of staff. Patronage is like favoritism, like there's 5 judges, but you know like one of them, and so you give the guy the job. That's patronage, right? And it's not okay. It's ethically dubious, as they say, or as I just said. Okay, back to the article. The New Democrat Party and the Liberals on Wednesday said Mr. Ford's staff members should not be in charge of reviewing appointments after revelations that several people given posts have ties to Dean French, the Premier's former top advisor, who resigned abruptly last Friday. Quote, "We simply cannot trust Ford to lead a review of the appointments that he has personally signed off on. This Doug Ford behind the closed doors review is like the fox guarding the henhouse," NDP MPP Merritt Stiles said. Mr. Ford's office on Tuesday said it would review all pending appointments, as well as some past ones, including the chair of a committee that helps choose justice of the peace after the Globe and Mail determined he is a friend of Mr. French. On Wednesday, Government House Leader Paul Calandra told the Globe the government is reviewing all appointments. "We're going to review not only the appointments that are pending, but also the ones that were made in the past, just to make sure that they meet the standard that the Premier set," he said. And there's a ... here. They can fit anything they want in there, so just be aware of that ... So I just want you to know people are shaping the conversation. That's not the whole quote. Back to the article. The Globe has confirmed that another Ford government appointee is connected to Mr. French's family. Raquel de Medeiros, who was appointed to the Board of Trustees of the Royal Ontario Museum on December 31st, is the sister-in-law of Mr. French's nephew. I'm going to scroll down just a little bit. Interim Liberal leader John Fraser said he has spoken to Mr. Wake about his concerns on Wednesday and called on the Premier to ask the Integrity Commissioner to launch a review. Mr. Fraser also called for a moratorium on all public appointments until such a review is complete. An independent review by a non-political entity will restore public trust. An internal review by the government will not, Mr. Fraser said. Interesting. Okay, there's more to this story, and you can read more. The link is in the description. Check it out if you're interested. But we're going to have a look at the patronage scandal at the federal level. Interesting. Global News is reporting, and we'll hear Justin Trudeau's. This is the same video that they show in the next clip I'm going to show you. So we'll wait until then to read it out. But it's going to start playing. Okay. No sound. Dominic LeBlanc's family donors appointed to 5 of 6 recent New Brunswick judicial vacancies. Patronage at the federal level. 5 of the 6 most recent judicial appointments in New Brunswick have strong connections to the federal Minister of Intergovernmental Affairs and Northern Affairs and International Trade, Dominic LeBlanc, raising questions of favoritism and political patronage. The connections to LeBlanc, MP for the New Brunswick riding of Beausejour, comes despite promises by the federal Liberals to appoint the most merititious jurists to judicial vacancies. That's the best judges, right? To judicial vacancies. The appointments include the wife of LeBlanc's brother-in-law and prominent donors to both the Liberal Party and the Federal Liberal Association for LeBlanc's riding. The details of the connections were first reported by CBC New Brunswick. Justice Minister David Lametti announced the appointments of Arthur Doyle and Robert Dysart as judges to the trial division of the Court of Queen's Bench earlier this month. A press release touted that the appointments were made under the judicial application process, which emphasizes transparency, merit, and diversity. But financial records filed with Elections Canada reveal that both men are contributors to the Liberal Party of Canada and the Liberal Association for the Federal Riding of Beausejour. Doyle has been contributing to the various Liberal Party organizations since 2006. He made a total of $4,148.35 in contributions to the Beausejour Federal Liberal Association since 2009. Doyle, who served as a partner with the legal firm Cox & Palmer, lives in St. John, which is located approximately 100 kilometers away from LeBlanc's riding. Dysart, a partner at Stuart McCalvary in Moncton, has contributed a total of $1,640.39 to the Beausejour Federal Liberal Association since 2008. Both men were among the group of donors who gave money in 2009 to help LeBlanc cover approximately $31,000 in debt related to his unsuccessful 2008 federal Liberal leadership campaign, according to records filled with Election Canada. But they were not the only ones. And so I'll leave that. Oh, I can scroll down here. Conservative leader Andrew Scheer was swift to condemn the news, saying the Liberals were caught red-handed abusing the power of their office to reward their rich and powerful friends. Canadians saw this during the SNC-Lavalin corruption scandal when Justin Trudeau tried to protect his corporate friends. They saw it when Justin Trudeau handed millions of dollars to Loblaws, a billion-dollar company, to buy new fridges, and they're seeing it again today with close personal friends of Trudeau, minister getting government appointments. And here is the up-to-date, the one that was posted on July 4th. And here's Justin Trudeau again. And I apologize, I know nails on chalkboard, but this is Global News reporting. Watchdog files ethics complaint against Dominic LeBlanc over connections to judicial appointments. So here's Justin Trudeau.
Transparent appointment system. It was a significant improvement over the process that Stephen Harper and the Conservatives had in place that was not transparent, not merit-based. We are pleased that we have nominated top-notch judges right across the country, and we will continue to.
Those appointments in New Brunswick?
We are fully confident that the process, the transparent, merit-based process that we've put in place is the right one, and we stand by it.
So Doug Ford is reviewing all of the processes, or all of the appointments by Mr. French. And yet, Justin Trudeau is saying, nope, our process is great. Everything's great. Nothing to see here, citizen. Carry on. Our process is wonderful. It doesn't matter that Mr. LeBlanc had all sorts of connections to all of the 5 out of 6 judges who were appointed. Yeah, whatever. They were the best. And who cares that they donated to the Liberals? Who cares that they were friends and family of this person? They were the best. Here's the article. An advocacy group has filed a complaint with the Federal Conflict of Interest and Ethics Commissioner calling for an independent investigation into Dominic LeBlanc and the connections he has with recent judicial appointments in New Brunswick. Democracy Watch is also calling on the federal government to suspend all judicial and watchdog appointments until the appointment process is changed to be actually independent and merit-based. The connections to LeBlanc, MP for the New Brunswick riding of Beausejour, and current Minister of Intergovernmental Affairs and Northern Affairs and Internal Trade were initially reported on Tuesday and come despite promises by the federal Liberals to appoint the most merititious jurists, the best judges, to judicial vacancies. I scroll down. As a result of the number of connections between the judicial appointees and LeBlanc, Duff Concher, a co-founder of Democracy Watch, says an investigation is necessary to determine if LeBlanc violated federal ethics laws by participating in the decision to appoint the judges. Concher says the incident is so concerning that the organization is calling on the federal government to stop the current appointment process. Quote, to stop this dangerously undemocratic and unethical appointment process for judges and watchdogs. The appointment process should be suspended until, as in the UK and Ontario, a fully independent public appointment commission is created to conduct public merit-based searches for nominees and send a short list to cabinet, with the cabinet required to choose from the list, Concher said in a press release. Democracy Watch has even requested that Conflict of Interest and Ethics Commissioner Mario Dion step aside for any possible investigation into judicial appointments. The organization says Dion cannot lead the investigation as he was handpicked by the Trudeau cabinet. Commissioner Dion must delegate the investigation to someone independent of his office and all political parties, says Conchar. LeBlanc's office directed Global News to the Office Justice Minister David Lametti in response to a request for comment. Rachel Rappaport, sorry about that. A spokesperson for Lametti's office referred Global News to the statement they issued Tuesday, saying that judicial appointments are made on the basis of merit. Quote, the minister then carefully reviews the findings of the Judicial Advisory Committee and considers a number of factors, including the needs of the court, the diversity of the bench, each candidate's area of expertise, and the strength of their application in determining who to recommend to cabinet. Only candidates that have been recommended by the Judicial Advisory Committee can be put forward for consideration at the cabinet level, said Rappaport. I got it right that time. As with all Canadian citizens, judicial candidates are free to engage personally in political activities. The appointments process neither disqualifies nor privileges an applicant on the basis of political association. It is there to find the best candidate for the job. Except that in 5 of the 6 instances in this riding, that person had connections to the person, to Mr. LeBlanc. So, I mean, isn't that interesting, right? There's a bit more to this story. The link is in the description. And that's the end of this show today. But I find all of this stuff very interesting. The way the provincial press covers Doug Ford and the way they cover Justin Trudeau federally. And it's not the same person, it's just different news organizations, etc. But it's interesting to really watch it. Like, Doug Ford can do nothing right. If he reduces the amount of funding going to schools through attrition or through a reduction of labor force needed or through savings of any kind, right? That's terrible. He's taking money away from children. If he changes and streamlines the health, the health, what are they? The agencies, right? We had multiple health agencies. He changed it into one health agency. It's terrible. He's not doing enough. Well, you can't run a race instantly, right? Like, the race actually takes time. You can't bake a cake by mixing up the batter and then putting it in the oven and saying, why isn't it baked yet? You know, like, maybe these are bad analogies, but they're indicators of time passed, right? After 40 minutes in the oven, the cake is going to be solid and delicious and ready to go. You need to give it the time to cook, right? And maybe, again, bad analogy, but maybe not. These things are interesting because it doesn't matter what's happening. They can find a negative spin for it. And it doesn't matter what's happening federally. They can kind of make it sound like it's business as usual. Right? Like, it's, oh, this happens. It's okay. Our appointments are merit-based. Yeah, you don't understand how this works, and just let us do our job and blah, blah, blah. And that's kind of what they're hoping people are going to do with the Trudeau Liberals. And what they're hoping people are going to do with the Ford Conservatives is stand on the lawns of Queen's Park and scream at the sky. It's really interesting. I know I said the end of the show like 2 minutes ago. I apologize, but this is where my brain goes. Like, why? And why don't people see the dichotomy of this? Like, the way they're trying to wedge you, right? Like, man, Trudeau good, Ford bad, rah. The reality of that, the reality of the situation is much more minutia, detailed. It's much closer than to the details rather than big policy decisions. Right? And the big policy decisions that have been made by Justin Trudeau require a lot more scrutiny than they've been given by the press. Often it's move on, move on, move on. Danforth shooter who, right? And just one example of many. But I mean, you could talk about SNC-Lavalin, which hung around forever and still had very little information reported or explained in the public. Mark Norman, right? Another scandal that went away. Oh, I keep saying it's the end of the show and I keep talking. It really is the end of the show now. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching. Check out thepeoplespartyofcanada.ca and have a wonderful, wonderful day.